Well, now I've got the car to start, I've actually turned it off, because what I'd like to do is show you around the car and have a little look at the features that are part and parcel of owning a 997, and also some of the options that the original owner very carefully and turns out rather well specified for it. So let's have a look. Here we go. 997 Gen 2. So the basic model here, I have got some notes because there's lots to remember, is the narrow-hipped Carrera 2 being two-wheel drive, that's rear-wheel drive, and S, that's the more powerful engine basically. And this is a 2011 model year. In fact, it was registered in November 2010. Now I'm doing a little bit of tinkering with number plates at the moment, which is why it doesn't have a plate on it, but that's your basics. So on the exterior of the car, what does the S get? Well, the S gets the more powerful 3.8 flat six engine, roughly 385 brake horsepower, about 300 foot-pounds of torque. So quite a nice naturally aspirated engine, about 7.5 RPM, the 1000 RPM red line, and it's a 3.8 litre engine. So it's just making that magical 100 horsepower per litre for a naturally aspirated engine, all well and good. In S form, so this is the 2S, so the narrow hip, so the rear there a little bit slimmer than the 4S, which has the wider track. From the front of the car, things to look out at are actually they're not running, the daylight running lights down here. These are LEDs, the daylight running lights are the two bulbs, two indicators in there. You get the xenon high intensity discharge lights standard on the S. In fact, you can't tell from here, but actually have the Porsche dynamic headlights as well. So on the main beam, the headlight, when you turn the wheel by more than 5%, the headlight will then swivel as well. So it's quite a fun little feature. You get on the S, you get the 19-inch rims. These are the sport design wheels, 19-inch rims, and with the N-rated tyres, and you get the slightly larger discs. And the rotor, the red rotor, is the giveaway. That is the quickest way to tell you've got an S side on. What else have we got in the front? Well, yes, you probably can't see it in here, but somewhere in there is there it is. There's a damper, and that's the PASM Porsche Active Suspension Management adjustable damper. So basically this has a variable rate damper, has two modes. You can put it in track mode or stiff, where it's basically just a single rate and it's stiffer, or in the sort of standard or normal mode. It actually works constantly to stiffen and soften as the car rolls and pitches, which gives a much more compliant ride, and frankly is more useful on British B roads, let alone A roads, given the state of our highways. So there we go, the big fat wheel on the rear. Around the back of the car, you get on the Gen 2 997, this is a Gen 2, you get the full LED brakes and indicators and the slightly smarter unit on the rear there. And you also get the quad pipes on the S rather than the twins, and this has actually got the Porsche Sports exhaust too. And if you look really carefully, the giveaway there is this central bar here. The camera's struggling with exposure today. This central bar indicates that these units are the PSE exhaust units, and they do actually both work when the car is making its farty noises. There's the S badge on the rear. There's your correspondent mirrored in that. What else have we got on the exterior? That's right, there's a couple more things. So these are options actually. So these would cost the original owner more. This coloured badge here is normally a black and white badge. You pay extra for the colour, of course you do, it's a German sports car. And also at the top of the windscreen, although it's probably quite hard to see this, the little grey bar. I guess in theory that's just providing some relief from the sunlight, but there's not much to it, and frankly it's probably 100 quid you need to spend. But anyway, those are the main features on the exterior of the car, yeah, let's have a little look inside now. I think we've pretty much covered the outside bits and pieces. So let's jump in the car and have a look inside. So the view from the driver's seat inside the 911 Gen 2 Carrera 2S, and this particular car has got some quite nice options on it. So bits and pieces well, you get a few bits and pieces actually with Porsche. They're not that stingy, but the principal features of this car are, in no particular order, the sports seats. So you get these slightly more robust bolsters on the side, and actually they fit me really well. Shoulders held in place, midriff held in place, and the squabs hold you nicely too. Actually better than the standard seats I had in the Boxster. There's a little bit of inclination to slide around a bit, so those are nice. We've got the full extended leather in here, so there's pretty much every surface: dash, glove box, door cards, top of the doors. The central tunnel here is leather, and into the back there you've got leather around the backs of the seats. Obviously the seats themselves are leather, so that's very tasty. Charcoal grey. I should have said earlier the exterior colour, basalt black, metallic, quite nice, quite discreet. What else have we got? Visually easily spottable things. The stainless steel door guards, which frankly need a damn good polish, but probably have done their trick and protected the doors from most of the wear and tear, so those are quite nice. We've got the Bose, there it is, a little badge that tells you you've got your Bose. That's the Bose Hi-Fi, extra ampage, speakers, subwoofer, and a bit of signal processing. Perfectly nice. I quite like it, but I do have to turn the bass down, so maybe that's missing the point. But it's a very nice, clean sound and fills the car perfectly well. Okay, moving on. What else have we got? We have got, yeah, I mean, would you believe it? So floor mats, those are extra as well. Let me run through the extras actually that this car's got on it. So we've got the extended leather, the sports seats are a no cost option. In the middle of the car, we've got a couple of things down here which actually did cost the owner more. So that's the PASM, that's the button you press to switch the suspension modes between firm and variable. That's standard on the S, so no bonus features there. The sport button is an extra pack, and actually it's accompanied by the love it or loathe it chrono button up here. That's a stopwatch for timing your laps, because obviously that's important. I don't think so, at least not to me. What it does do, the sport button in the manual car, is it does firm up the suspension. It'll trip the PASM into firm automatically. You can drop that back manually, and then it also firms up the throttle as well, which actually makes it a little bit more responsive, so that's quite nice. And you get a few other little options that come with that in terms of configuring the computer. We've got the sports exhaust button, that's a toggle on off, and that's, yeah, it makes a difference. It's very subjective. Those two buttons, that's the spoiler, in fact it's the engine, the spoiler on the engine. You can raise or lower that manually. It does it automatically above, I think it's 75 miles an hour. PSM, Porsche Stability Management, you can turn that off if you want to do really big skids, but actually it's quite a nicely graded system, and it's not too aggressive, so generally the rule of thumb I think is leave that in. So that's an option. So the Sport Chrono Plus package was an option, that cost extra money. Moving up here, heated seats, there they are, those were extra. This whole unit here actually, the PCM unit, came as standard, but you get a few extra bits in here. We've got the extended navigation option, which I think just produces some more useful GPS and sort of distance time related functionality. There's a phone button, but actually what you can't see, but I can tell you, is that actually this car also does have the Bluetooth module, which means you can then hook the phone up to the car via Bluetooth, not using the SIM slot, which the earlier Gen 1 cars had to rely on, I think I'm right in saying that. So that's quite good. That was an option as well. We've got rear parking assist bleepers, those were extra. The little details like this, little crest, the little crest there on the glove box compartment thingy, that was an option. And in fact, if you open that, the ability to plug, there it is, an iPod in and external audio sources was an option. That was expensive, well, relatively expensive. We've got the standard wheel with the multifunction. So actually this is the sort of the bog standard geometry of this wheel that you get. Now I've got to be honest, when I saw this, I thought, I don't really like those. It's a bit fussy, but of course, you know, it turns out to be quite useful. Not having to take your hands off the wheel to change the volume or scroll through a screen, so we quite like that. Quite enjoying that. Down the bottom here, That's the sort of the car computer, as opposed to the audio sort of general setup here. So that's the trip computer, which features in the screen there. So that fiddles with that. And I've actually had, at my expense, the cruise control, which is the balancing lever down here, and in fact at the top you've got the wipers and the lights. So the cruise control's gone in for me. I found that really useful on the Boxster, and it's kind of essential as far as I'm concerned for GT work on the motorway and so on and so forth. So that's been fitted too. So that's pretty much the highlights. I'm just looking at my little checklist. Yeah, those are the highlights for this car, and in fact it makes it pretty well spec'd. There's actually nothing else that would really be nice to have, with the possible exception of the electric seats, so that other drivers, notably Mrs. Pratt, can change the seats and we can get those settings sort of back and forth on the button. But in fact the levers work pretty well, so I'm happy with those. But actually, to be honest, it's a lovely place. With the miles done in the car so far tells me that the spec on this car, the options and the base S spec, make for a really very pleasant place to be. And I've got to say that I'm looking forward to doing some very comfortable high performance miles in this car. I think it's going to be a goodie.